Welcome to Power Fridays Live. I'm your host, Janelle Pulley, and Power Fridays Live is a broadcast with a vision of impacting the world through sharing transformation, spiritual growth, and leadership development in business for entrepreneurs. This evening, I am super excited to welcome Jessica Smith. She's the Director of Inside Sales working for a Fortune 100 company, which is one of the top private global media enterprises in America. And since being with this company, she's gained a lot of her education, as well as she's very passionate about partnering with others to grow and develop their careers in leadership and strengthening their public speaking skills. Jessica is a mother of three sons, and her husband live in the Atlanta metro area. Welcome, Jessica. How are you this evening?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here with you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. I'm very excited about our conversation. I know that we met on a personal level and you share with me about your life, and I'm just so intrigued. And I was like, oh, you've got to tell your story. So I'm like super excited. And can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and like where you grew up and what inspired you to be in the inside sales world?
Absolutely. So I grew up in Chicago, born and raised in Chicago, spent a little time in Kentucky, but I was a teen mom. So I had my oldest son when I was 15, and real life started real fast for me. So I got a job at 17 as a telemarketer. That's kind of where my sales career started. And a great group of people just believed in me, took me under their wing, and pretty much taught me everything about sales and about business and leadership. And that's kind of where my sales career started off many years ago.
Okay, great. And I know that being a teen mom, can you tell us a little bit about more about that and how it was managing that experience?
Well, first and foremost, I did have a lot of help and a lot of support from my family. So that was definitely helpful. But that also meant that I dropped out of school and I got a job and I realized that I was responsible for a whole person. So you just grow up fast when you realize that. And I figured it out. Like I said, I found great mentors and people who saw something in me and believed in me, and my sales career took off and I became very successful at a young age, just because I had the right mentors and the right people around me supporting me and really believed in me.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And I know that you're paying it forward to be a mentor. So can you tell us a little bit about that experience and what brought you into mentoring young girls?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one thing that I knew very early on when I had these mentors that were teaching me, I knew that they had information that I was not exposed to. I also came, my dad died when I was 11 years old. So, I came from a very broken family, and I just didn't have the information that a lot of my peers did. And so, when I realized that there was information out there that certain people were not privy to, it just made me want to share the information that I learned. And I knew leadership was for me. I knew that I wanted to just help people grow and develop and share information. And the more successful I became, the more eager I was to really share that information and see the good in other people, like someone saw in me. And that really is the road that I've been down ever since that, when I realized that I really wanted to help other people.
Oh, very great. That warms my heart to hear that, and knowing that you are that person who someone saw something special in you, groomed you, and then now you can be that person that grooms other people. And so super amazing. And we do have some people joining us this evening, and so we do thank everyone that's tuning in tonight. And please share and subscribe to Power Fridays Live on YouTube and like us on Facebook. And Jessica, knowing that you were raised in the Midwest in Chicago, and of course, there's a big span of your life. Would you like to share anything about how within the mentorshiping, within how you received your mentorship, and or how you grew as a person? Because I know that later in life you said that you didn't finish high school. So how did that work out for you in having the support of your family, having the support of your professional peers, and then how did your life just transition to knowing that education may be important to you?
Absolutely. So, because my sales career did take off at a very young age, and, by the time I was 21, I was really making good money. And I thought, well, there's no need to go to school. I bought my first home when I was 23. And one thing I want to point out that I did not mention is that at a very early age, I learned the power of prayer. And that's one thing that really stuck with me, that all through my trials and, being a teen mom or being out in the streets and different things that I experienced, I never stopped praying. I never stopped believing. And so I know that that really was at the forefront of my success, that I prayed, Lord, I just need one chance. I just need one shot, and that's exactly what I got. And I never looked back after that. So when I was in Chicago, I worked for that same company and worked my way up from a telemarketer into managing and then into sales. And in 2006, the owner of the company moved me to the Bay Area. So I took my three boys, and this was after a divorce, and just again, just stayed in prayer and started all over again across the country with no family, and started all over. And we built a successful business for 12, 15 years in the Bay Area. And the company actually ended up, it was a private company. They sold, and 160 showrooms went out of business overnight. And that was all I knew. So I had no college degree, barely a high school diploma, and everything I knew was gone. That was my life plan. So my family was left in a major hardship. And the lesson that I even told my children during that time was, that's when I realized that I should have went back to school, that regardless of how successful I was, I needed a degree, because it became very evident that I could have had a degree in clownship and gotten a job. Because I didn't have anything, I could not get a job. No one cared that I
Mhm.
had led successful sales teams. Nobody cared about all the awards that I have won over the years. I didn't have a degree, and I could not compete with the other sales leaders in the Bay Area. So thankfully, I had, once again, someone who believed in me, who worked at Cox, who put their name out there for me, because they knew my work, they knew what I was capable of, they knew the person that I was, and they were willing to put their name out there for me. So I had to swallow a big pill of humbleness and start from the very beginning and take a job as an entry level salesperson 6 years ago, as I walked into Cox Automotive. And again, continued to pray that God would send the right people to mentor me, to sponsor me. And I've done exactly that. So in the last 6 years, I've had 5 different roles. And all through the way, along the way, I just look for and find people that I see great things in, so that I can share the information and share my story and help in any way that I can.
Oh, great, Jessica. That is so exciting. And just to let people know, there's power in prayer, and you are
Absolutely.
not by yourself in this world. Your journey is meant for you, and all of the twists and turns and the avenues that it takes is only to make you better and make you stronger. And to be a single mother of three boys during that time period, I can only, imagine the challenges that you faced. And so then, look around the corner. We know that we're either in a storm, going through a storm, or coming out of a storm. So you came out of that
Absolutely.
storm amazingly. And with the experience that you have under your belt, and you have made a lot of difference with the corporate America, and with Cox, I know that you received what, four, you said 5 promotions within a 6-year period. That's
Yeah, I'm
amazing.
almost yeah, I'm almost at 6 years. And so, and again, do I work hard? Do I perform? Absolutely. But the real reason that I am where I'm at is because of the people that were willing to help me, sponsor me, support me, and pour into me. That's it.
Now I know that a lot of people are asking us, like, how do you show up to where people actually take notice of, who you are, and what do you say, what do you do, how can someone notice me and take an interest? What does that look like?
Well, the first thing I tell people is just be yourself. One person that really inspires me as a leader is the author Carla Harris, and I will meet her one day. But she really inspires me. One, because she really believes in picking people up on the way up, and that I think that's huge, right? I'm not going to wait till I get to the top. I'm picking people up as I move up myself on the way up. That's just part of it. But she inspires me because
Yes.
she talks a lot about just being your authentic self and knowing that each one of us have something unique to offer, something special, and our voice should be welcomed in any room. And if it's not, then you're in the wrong room. So I think that is the first thing. Just be yourself and just show up, and don't be fearful of whatever. We sometimes we talk ourselves out of opportunities because
Mhm.
we're scared of something and we don't even know what it is. So that's what I tell people, is just get involved, meet people, be yourself. We all have something to add to the conversation. Just speak up.
Very good. You heard it. Be yourself, and help people along the way. And there's someone that inspires you, Carla Harris. I have her book, and I did see her in the leader cast, and she is an amazing woman. So that's a very great mentor to have. So, who other mentors do you have that you can give homage to?
I would say a lot of leaders. We have an amazing executive leadership team at Cox. That's the one thing too that I say that really stands out, and I believe that that was part of God answering my prayers and put me in the right places, in the right room, in the right environment where I can be myself and I can make a difference. And I think that we have something special. Sure, there's a lot of other companies, and I've only worked almost 20 years at one other company, but I know that this one is special, and we have people that if you just ask, that's all you have to do is just ask. There are people that want to sow into you, want to help you grow and develop. So I think we have an amazing executive leadership team and just leaders in general. And I think that's many of them. And of course, we at Cox, we also have a lot of women, and every one of them I've spent time with. They're all special in their own way, and I'm just thankful that we're in a place where we have that many women in our executive leadership team.
Oh, wow, that's amazing to hear. And women are rising in leadership these days. And as a leader, what are things that you look at for in individuals in your leadership to help them grow and develop on a personal level?
Well, the first thing I look for, like I said, is just someone who's just willing to be themselves, and someone who is confident in their abilities. And if you're not, then do something about it. Since I've been with Cox over the last 6 years, I've earned my bachelor's in business leadership thanks to Cox. I'm two classes away from my master's in psychology. And that came about because I didn't feel confident in certain rooms because I didn't have that. And I knew that I had something to add to the conversation, but somehow the conversation would always, where'd you go to school? Or, what's your degree in? And so I had to do that for myself. And what that has helped me see, I'm the same person. I know everything that I knew before. All my superpowers are the same, but I've learned so much and I want to continue to learn and develop. I consider myself a lifetime learner. And when I'm done with school, I am done with school, but I am not done with learning. And so I would say just someone who is committed to being a lifetime learner, someone who understands that empathy is important, and someone that understands the power of diversity in leadership, and someone who wants to be intentional. The diverse teams are the teams that are winning. And there's a lot of work to be done, not just at Cox, but everywhere. And I think that's really important. So that's one of the things that I really tell people when I mentor them is that if you are like me and you don't come from an area, I grew up in an all Black neighborhood. I've only dated Black men. I mean, these are things that I see are opportunities for myself. And that is put yourself in rooms where people don't look like you. And the more you do that, the more comfortable you'll be in those rooms.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I know for me, I grew up in a predominantly Caucasian community, and then I moved and matriculated from the Midwest to Atlanta, and then it's predominantly African American communities. And but I live currently in a multicultural area, and I absolutely love it. I mean, I have neighbors who are Indian, neighbors who come from various backgrounds, and the food that you can get from either the Mexican restaurants and the Chinese restaurants or Asian restaurants. It's just so amazing. And so,
Absolutely.
speaking about ethnicity, then can you share a little bit about your ethnicity with us?
Yeah, I get that question a lot and I love it and I embrace it. So my mother is 100% Mexican and my father was mixed, but he was black ultimately. And because and I have this conversation even with my kids all the time. I consider myself a black woman. Has nothing to do with how much of whatever I have in my blood or what ancestry.com says culturally, right? And going back to, I was born in an all black neighborhood. I grew up in the food and the music. That's a culture. So I identify as a black woman, right? But I tell people I'm mixed. And then usually they say, well, what are you mixed with? And so I really do what I can to embrace that. I know people ask me that question all the time. And then they ask, well, do you speak Spanish? And I love it because, again, I'm passionate about diversity and being intentional about that. So I try to use my ability, if I look like I'm from your country or your country or your country, that's great. I want to embrace it because I love everyone. And I think that's another gift from God that you're able to do that.
Yes, definitely. And now we have diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. So I hear that the belonging part, that you put yourself, that you're in spaces where you have a sense of belonging. And not everyone has that skill. So, how did you develop that skill? Was it something God ordained, the talent that God gave you, or was it something that you learned from your mentors?
I think it's a little bit of everything. And when people say that, it brings me to this moment. So I'm a planner. I always had this plan that corporate America wasn't for me. And I knew that this was the place that I was in, and I had to rebuild everything that I lost through our family's hardship. And I'm like, I just have to get in there. I have to make money. But ultimately, I wanted to be a real estate investor. And I loved the world I came from was remodeling, building, design. And I really wanted to use what I've learned over the years. And that was my plan. So I said, well, I got to work my way back up, get my retirement back up. And I'm going to give myself 10 years and exit stage to the left. Corporate America is not for me. And something happened when I earned President's Club at Cox a couple years ago. And I found myself, my husband and I were, which by the way, I prayed for a new husband and God sent me a really good one. So again, that power of prayer. But my husband and I were in Maui at the Ritz Carlton with our executive leadership team. And again, I have this 10-year plan. I'm out of here in 10 years. This isn't for me. And as I spent time with this group of people and their family and their husbands and their wives, and we sat down and we talked. And you just know authentic people when you're around authentic people. And they
Yes.
ask questions and by the fifth night that we were there, something hit me. And I looked around and I thought, wow, scratch my whole plan. I got to go home and write my whole 10-year plan again because I've decided that I am going to be the first Black female woman part of Cox Automotive leadership team. And the reason I didn't even realize that the reason I wanted to exit stage left is because I didn't think I belonged. When I look around automotive and you see not very many women and definitely not very many women that look like us, and then you get into leadership, director level role and above, or our executive leadership team, you definitely, and I don't know if they've ever had anyone. I don't think that they have. And something hit me that I created that narrative. These people didn't make me feel that I didn't belong or that they didn't want me. And I realized that not only do I belong, but I'm needed. And God
Mm.
put that on my heart in that moment. I came home and I said, okay, now I got to go back to the drawing board. And let's just be real, there's politics here. Now I have to put my politician hat on and go out here in these Cox streets and make sure that people know exactly who I am, what my goals are, and what I'm here to do. So that's the journey I'm on next.
Oh, great. And it sounds like a whole a brand and a rebrand happened all in 1 week.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I'm thankful.
Oh, very great. Well, I love that. Very inspirational. And for all of the people listening, it's very much important that you know that, belonging is if you feel like you don't belong, it's all made up in your mind. And whatever that
Absolutely,
fear is false evidence appearing real. You really have to come to be yourself. Like Jessica said earlier, the number one thing is be yourself and be your authentic self, and don't let your identity get in the way to where you're straight away to doing something or having something happen, because with God all things are possible. And of course, Jessica shared through the power of prayer, everything's possible, no matter
absolutely.
what you have going on in your journey, and that you'll be able to overcome. So thank you so much, Jessica, for sharing that with us. And as you share also about your mentoring program, who inspired you to the mentorship program, Elite Like a Girl? And can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So, Lead Like a Girl really came to my heart during COVID. And I committed to not watching the news, reading newspapers, whatever, 20 some years ago. So I'm hearing just in social media that women are leaving the workforce, that women leaders, and it was like a big deal, right? Like everybody was talking about it, and it really hurt my heart to know, because at that time I had 3 kids, homeschooling 3 kids, right? And I'm responsible for a sales team as well. And overnight, and it wasn't like Zoom, this was, here's the curriculum, teach your kids. And I had 2 in high school and 1 in elementary. It was a lot and I felt it. Okay. But again, I went back and said, okay, Lord, you're going to have to help me, because this is going to take some supernatural to get through this. It was a lot. So I felt it and I understood where they were coming from. But what I realized is that many women were leaving because they felt that they couldn't do all that was expected of them. And they had to cook, they had to clean, they had to. So we know that there's a lot of work to be done in the home. And leaders, specifically women leaders, I think sometimes they think that they have to show up like their male counterparts. And that's what I realized. And I refuse, because I'm not a man. I'm a woman, and I'm a girl, right? And so I know that that looks different, and I'm okay with that looking different. That doesn't mean that I should make less money. That doesn't mean that I don't work as hard. That doesn't mean that I can't get the job done. So the thought of Lead Like a Girl came to me, and it was pretty amazing, because I went to church one Sunday and I saw a t-shirt, and I was like, oh wow, this had come to me already. Fast forward, Cox asked me to be part of Women's History Month, a committee that would be a theme for all of Cox. For the first time, it would be automotive communications. And I'm in this group talking with a group of women, and we're just brainstorming. And I shared with them Lead Like a Girl. And I said, and it reminds me of growing up. I have a brother who used to teach me how to throw a football and a basketball. And he would get really frustrated with me and say things like, why do you throw like a girl? And I remember being too scared to say anything, but I used to think like, what the heck? I am a girl. And so all of these thoughts came to me, and I said, and I shared it with them. And so Cox got their creative team. We came up with this logo. We did this whole thing. We launched this Lead Like a Girl, and it was a hit. This year it came about, and I was sharing with my oldest son, and he's like, Mom, Cox helped you put this brand together. You need to do something with it. Like you need to trademark it. Who? And I'm like, and do what? He's like, just make the brand, get the brand out there. And you learn so much from your kids. Your kids know so much. So he just gave me this idea to do something with it, right? And I said, okay. So I put the brand out there. My second favorite thing to do, other than mentoring, is thrifting. I'm a professional thrifter. And I said, okay, so maybe when I'm doing what I love to do, because I also have a passion for sustainability, I can thrift these one of a kind pieces, brand it with Lead Like a Girl. I'm not going to get rich off a t shirt brand, but I know that God wants to do something with this brand. And I don't know if it's going to be a nonprofit for young girls with a um, intentionality on diversity, if it's going to be a speaker series, a podcast. I don't know what it's going to be. I'm still praying about it. But that's how Lead Like a Girl came about. I launched it this past Women's History Month. It's been a hit. I have so many things going on with it, people inquiring it about it, and I'm just thankful. And we'll see where it goes.
Great. And that's lead like a girl dot shop. I put the ticker at the bottom, so we'll make sure that everyone knows that and has that to reach out to you to get their thrift item that's personalized with lead like a girl.
Yep.
And
And you
so
can order new from the website too for those people who are not into the whole thrifting.
okay. So now, if you don't want any like clothes that have been worn by someone else, then they can get something like brand new. So
There you go.
awesome. Okay. So you heard it. You can get it new or repurpose clothing from Jessica Smith with lead like a girl dot shop. So it's lead like a girl dot shop. So please go to lead like a girl dot shop and get your their clothes for leadership. And so, Jessica, as we come to an end, is there any story that you can share that was like truly inspirational for you in your life that you would like to share as we close out? Any final words?
Um, so let me think. I've had so many moments because I say my real superpower is grit, and you don't get a superpower like grit without adversity, right? So I just think there's been lots of twists and turns, and I just remember when we built our dream home in California and having to sell that house because we had lost everything. And I didn't understand what I did wrong when I thought that I did all the right things and giving back and all of these things. And I'm just so thankful for my husband because he reminded me at that time that sometimes God has to tear you all the way down to build you all the way up. And I remember him just telling me that I would have a bigger house and I would have a better house, and we would bounce back. And I was just I was heartbroken that I had spent so many years building so much. And I remember saying, it's going to take 20 years, another 20 years. And we moved to Atlanta, and not even 2 years later, coming out of a hardship. I mean, bankruptcy, credit, all kind of things, but God made a way. And here we are in a beautiful home, three times the size. He was right.
Mhm.
And here I am 6 years later, rebuilding myself in a career that I thought would take me 20 years later. 2 degrees when I barely had a high school diploma.
Mm.
So, again, I share that because we all find ourselves in different places,
Mhm.
but never give up. Never give up. Always know that you can do it. And I said, if you did it once, you can do it again, but you can do it. And it's just about believing first and foremost, believing that God's going to make a way, believing in yourself, and just surrounding yourself with the right people who can encourage you and speak life into you when it looks like there's nothing there but death. So
Yeah.
that's what I would say is a big inspiration for myself and a real important turning point in my life when you have to just start all over and do it again. And I know that we'll get to where we were again. We're on our way.
Very good. Well, congratulations. And I wish you much success. I wish you much success with Lead Like a Girl. I wish you continued success in corporate America and reaching and realizing your dreams and have your dreams come true. You've listened to Jessica Smith today. She shared with you about being coming to the table and being your authentic self. She shared with us the power of belonging and the importance of diversity, the leadership, and really overcoming whatever challenge that you have, and having the support of family foremost helps make a difference. And then also finding that mentor and someone that sees the light shining bright in you, and just basically being that light and showing that light to someone else helps make a difference. So just pay it forward. So thank you so much, Jessica, for joining us this evening with Power Fridays Live. Your story has been a truly an inspiration, and how you've been able to take yourself from, it sounds like a rags to riches story almost. It
Thank you so
seems.
much. Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Well, thank you so much. And you've given some great advice this evening. And we thank everyone for tuning in. And thank you so much for your mentoring program, Lead Like a Girl. Please tap in, grab that information that Jessica has available to you, new or thrifty. And you can reach Jessica and her LinkedIn account. So I'm putting the LinkedIn at the bottom, LinkedIn, Jessica Smith. So connect with Jessica if you want to learn anything more about leadership, education, sales, mentoring. Please do be in contact with her. She loves connections. She loves making connections with you. So thank you so much for joining us. And as we always say on Friday night, be, do, and have the greatness that you desire, because the greatness is in you. Thank you, and God bless everyone. Bye bye.